when the Grapes of Wrath was being banned, and it occurred in the camp near Arvin where Steinbeck visited the Okies. It is a true story, and it starts on the plains of Oklahoma when the sky was red and the land was being carried away by the winds of despair. Chapter 1. Mean Clouds. Life had always been hard on the farmers who lived in Oklahoma, and in the 1930s it was especially hard on those who lived in the Panhandle, a barren stretch of rock and red soil sandwiched between Texas, Kansas, and New Mexico. These people owned small family farms of 40 to 80 acres and were dry farmers. They had no irrigation system, no reservoirs to store water, no canals to bring water to their farms. When there was enough rain, the Okies in the Panhandle grew wheat and corn and raised cattle. When there wasn't enough rain, they were forced to sell their livestock and farm machinery and borrow money from the bank. Every year they gambled with their lives, hoping for enough rain to get by. In 1931, it stopped raining in the Panhandle. The sky became bright and hot, and it stayed that way every day. Corn stalks in the fields shriveled from the sizzling heat. Shoots of wheat dried up and fell to the ground. The farmers were caught in an impossible situation. They were already suffering from the effects of the Great Depression, which had started in 1929 when the stock market collapsed. The Depression caused the price of wheat and corn to fall so low that it made growing these crops unprofitable. Most farmers had borrowed money to buy their land and had borrowed again against their land in lean years. When the prices for their crops fell, many couldn't make payments to the banks that held title to their land. By 1932, 1,000 families a week in Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas were losing their farms to the banks. And now it had stopped raining in the Panhandle, and the crops themselves were failing. Then, when it seemed that things couldn't get any worse, they did. The year was 1936. It hadn't rained more than a few drops in the Panhandle for 5 straight years. One day the wind started to blow, and every day it blew harder and harder, as if nature were playing a cruel joke on the Okies. The wind blew the dry soil into the air, and every morning the sun rose only to disappear behind a sky of red dirt and dust. The wind knocked open doors, shattered windows, and leveled barns. It became known as the Great Dust Bowl, and it was centered in the Panhandle near Goodwell, Oklahoma. From there it stretched to the western half of Kansas, the eastern half of Colorado, the northeastern portion of New Mexico, and northern Texas. In these areas, and especially in the Panhandle, the dry winds howled for 4 long years, from 1936 to 1940. Frequently the wind blew more than 50 miles an hour, carrying away the topsoil and leaving only hard red clay, which made farming impossible. In the flatlands of the Panhandle, people could see the dust storms coming from 20 to 30 miles away. The winds made the sky boil red, blood red, said Horace Ray Conley of Foss, Oklahoma. You could see the northers coming, he recalled. It carried that old red dirt, and the whole sky would be red. They were mean clouds, ugly clouds. As a child, Horace walked to school backward to keep the dirt from scraping him in the face. He remembered he was often let out of school to go to the family storm cellar, where he would be safe. As the clouds rose and roiled each day, thousands of birds and rabbits raced in front of the approaching storms. That was the signal to the Okies to hurry before it was too late. They had to herd their cows into the barn quickly, tie down farm equipment and whatever supplies they had outside, then run for cover. Cracks around the windows and doors were taped or stuffed with wet towels, but it was impossible to escape the dust. At night, families slept with wet washcloths or sponges over their faces to filter out the dust, but in the morning they would find their pillows and blankets caked with dirt, their tongues and teeth coated with grit. Every morning, the house had to be cleaned. Everett Buckland of Waynoka said, "If you didn't sweep the dust out right quick between the storms, you'd end up scooping it out with a shovel." And every morning someone had